On my last scoring video, you guys were dying to know what would a loaf look like without being scored, and I am also curious. So let's make a double batch of sourdough and compare scored versus non-scored. I'm going to be making a higher hydration recipe today, so I started with 200 grams of active bubbly starter and 750 grams of warm filtered water, and then 1,000 grams of bread flour and 20 grams of salt. I mixed that all up until I got a shaggy dough, and I went in with my spatula and scraped down the sides just so there's no dry flour spots in the bowl. From there, we cover and wait 1 hour. After that hour rest, we're going to go right into our stretch and folds. I did 4 sets of stretch and folds, 30 minutes apart, and then after that, I did a 4-hour bulk ferment on the counter. So altogether, it was about 7 hours that this was bulk fermenting, and my house stays around 68 to 70 degrees on average. Bulk fermenting times are going to vary based on a lot of different factors. How much starter you use, the temperature of your house, what flour you use, the climate. So you kind of just have to look out for it. I know mine's ready when it's bubbly and jiggly and it's doubled in size. I also get the question, why do I bulk ferment overnight sometimes and why do I do it on the counter sometimes? And it really just comes down to what time of day that I do my loaf. If I make my dough later at night, I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to shape it and put it in the fridge, so I will just leave it on the counter overnight. If I make my dough in the morning, I'll just let it bulk ferment on the counter for a few hours, and once I find that it's ready, I will shape it and put it in the fridge for the next day. Sourdough is a totally learn as you go experience. It's not one size fits all. So what works for me with my bulk ferment times may not work for you, and that's okay. We just have to play around with it a little bit. Once my dough is ready, I shape it, put it into the bannetons, and this is going to go into the fridge overnight. I myself have never seen an unscored loaf of sourdough bread before, so I was very anxious to see these results. The next morning, I took my loaves out of the refrigerator, I took the covers off, and I put some parchment paper down and flipped them over. For this batard, I did score it, so I just did an expansion score down the middle and then some decorative scoring on the side. For my boule, or my round loaf, I kept that completely non-scored because this is what I wanted to see the most. I baked them at the same time. I put the batard in my bread oven and the boule in my Dutch oven. It was preheated to 450 degrees. They went in for 30 minutes covered and then 15 minutes uncovered. Here's the batard. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It has a really nice belly on it. And this is the unscored loaf. I am honestly shocked. The main difference is, obviously this one has an ear, you can see the belly, and it's decorative. The unscored, I'm actually shocked that this did not burst, but I do think it has something to do with the higher hydration dough. Surprisingly, when I was showing my husband, he said he would rather eat the unscored bread than the scored bread. But look at how gorgeous that is on the inside. In my opinion, I think I would go with the scored bread just because it looks prettier, but what would you guys choose?